Hi everyone, Isabella here. Today in this video you're only going to see my hands and what I draw and paint on this piece of 300 GSM watercolour paper. I thought it would be a good idea to talk about grief around the holidays and how it affects people around this time of year. So while we're thinking about shopping and what we're going to prepare and to cook and the guests that are coming over, or all those things that you normally think about when it's around holidays, it's important to remember those people that are grieving, or who are grieving I should say, because it doesn't stop just because it's Christmas or any other holiday you can think of. It doesn't mean that the grief is on hold. It just means that it can either rise to the surface and become something more difficult to deal with because you're missing your loved ones. And for children, it's important to remember that these feelings are so huge that they don't actually know, if they haven't received the strategies on how to deal with that grief. So I thought I'd draw something just kind of depicting what Christmas feels like for me. I had an idea in mind, but the idea would probably take days, if not weeks, using oils and things like that. So I thought I'd just do something quick for this video where it's just something that's kind of a thought, putting it out there and drawing. Now, I'm a self-taught artist. I haven't gone to any kind of school or anything like that, and I like to just draw to get out of a type of mindset, or to feel in the moment. I think sometimes we forget how to be in the moment, and that can be really difficult for someone who's grieving. So just the normal Christmas tree. Now, I am talking while I do this. Usually I listen to music, but because of YouTube, that becomes a copyright issue. So if I do choose to put on some music, I will actually do a voiceover instead of talking through this. So I know the first Christmas we had without my dad after he passed away 11 years ago was really difficult. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to really celebrate. I was actually just finding it really difficult to be in anyone else's space. I found it really difficult seeing people celebrate, because I was grieving so deeply, and having that missing person at the table is something that is really difficult. So I remember I actually took my dad's spot at my mum's house. So we would have family dinners once a week, and my mum would usually do Christmas. I would go see her Christmas Day, and Christmas Eve was with everybody, so the extended family. But it's really difficult. It was really, there aren't really words to describe the type of feeling that comes up when you're grieving, and when it's Christmas, or when people are celebrating and people are happy, and and you're supposed to be happy. And at the time my children were much younger, obviously, and I didn't want to not celebrate for them, but at the same time I felt guilty. I actually felt guilty for celebrating without my dad. And I know that's silly, because he wouldn't have wanted us to be like that. He would have wanted us to continue to celebrate and to be together, which we did. We were together which was comforting. We were with my mum, and yeah. And so a couple of years ago, when my mum passed away, that Christmas was even more difficult because we didn't have her, because we fell to her, or we sort of leaned on her, or not leaned on her, we were there for her. So it was like when my dad died, we had her to lean on, and when my mum died, my siblings and I really just had each other, and obviously our partners, but it's not the same. It just feels so alone. You feel so isolated, so just out of it. I just felt completely lost. I didn't know if I would be able to cope. I remember feeling like, okay, I have to put a smile on my face. I had my anxiety came up like really, really bad. And the first Christmas after my mum passed, I really, really struggled. I couldn't see anyone again. I go into an isolation mode, if that makes sense, where I just hide not hide, but find it difficult, really difficult to be around people. So this is basically the idea. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is just the under drawing, something to sort of depict a really a difficult time where people are struggling. And like I said, for children, it can be a lot harder. Now I'm drawing a female because that's just what I came up with, but it doesn't mean that it's just girls. Obviously this is for boys as well. It's something that is not gender specific, and everyone deals with grief uniquely and differently, and it's really important that we don't judge how someone else is grieving. I know some people who like to be around people, they prefer to be around a lot of people just to sort of forget. Other people turn to food, I guess. Other people get lost in their work. When my dad died, I actually got lost in my miniatures, and I spent hours and hours and hours creating miniatures that I might actually put up at some point. And I know that at another point then I actually felt like I needed to get lost in some sort of trashy TV show. So I was so grateful for Netflix and all of those streaming shows, because it was easy to get just anything on the TV screen and zone out, completely zone out. And that's always a good thing when you're grieving. I know people say, and as a therapist I would say you should honour every part of the grieving process, but sometimes that's really difficult. Sometimes you just need to zone out. And for children, especially if they're not really aware of what's going on, or they're feeling overwhelmed because of all these new feelings, and these difficult, deep feelings, these strong feelings that are coming up. And I think that's what's really important to acknowledge for anyone grieving. And the thing is, grief doesn't really go away. It kind of gets different. So time doesn't heal all wounds. It just becomes different. And there's a few things that you should never ever say to someone who's grieving, like, don't you think you should get over it by now? Or the worst one that I heard that I could not stand every time I heard it was, be strong. What does that mean? Be strong. So basically what I heard is, let it go, you'll be right. Kind of a patronizing, condescending tone. And I know that not everybody knows what to say. So what's a good thing to say is, I don't know what to say. I had some people just sit with me, and that was good. That was actually healing, just to have them there, not thinking about what to say, what to do, no pressure, just being there with them. I think that's really important. So this is by no means going to be a masterpiece, but it's just something to show some feelings. And if you have children that are grieving the loss of a loved one, something you can do with them as well, because art is such a powerful tool. I remember years ago I ran an art therapy program that I created, and had my clients draw just what they were feeling, and I would have suggested to put them up into gallery because they were just magnificent pieces of work. And only one of them was actually an artist, but they all came up with the most beautiful, expressive pieces. If you just want to throw paint on a canvas or scribble with crayons, that's okay, So I think it's important to remember that we have to, or we should, find ways to cope with our grief. Something that we can all do. And grief is not only about death. It could be a major life change. It could be something that's happening in your life at the moment that you're finding really, really difficult to cope with. It could be you've just lost your job, or you've had a fallout with your best friend, or you're going through a separation or divorce, or for children it could even be something like their best friend no longer wants to talk to them, and that can be really disheartening, or their best friend moves away, or they've lost their favorite toy. Grief comes in so many different ways. I've just realized this is too zoomed in. Let's move this a bit. There we go. So I'm just doing a very rough watercolour sketch, I guess you could say, because why not? I'm just playing and recording for the first time while I'm doing this, so please be kind. It's not something I'm used to doing, recording myself and putting myself out there. It's another thing that's been very new to me this year. So Another thing I found really difficult when I lost my parents was people, just strangers, like at the shopping centre or whatever, going about their daily lives and looking really happy. I know that sounds really silly, but something happens when you lose someone that you're really close to that is difficult to sort of explain. It's something that it's almost like the world stops for you, but the world keeps on going around you, and it's something, so your whole world stops. It comes to like a complete pause, but the world keeps going. It doesn't stop, you know. So the world's continuing to go on without you, and that can be really difficult to deal with, especially when you're in that deep grief. Just mixing some colours here. Like I said, it's a very loose painting. By no means is it going to be a masterpiece or something that's perfect. That's just something that I'm playing with. Now, this month was International Children's Grief Awareness Day. I did post it on my socials about wearing blue in support. So I think I might just give her a blue top. There's too much water in it. So another thing was New Year's Eve. So my siblings and I and our partners, we celebrated that together. And the first year after my mum died, found it really difficult to navigate that feeling of we're entering another year without her, without our mum. She really was our anchor, our backbone. She was our best friend to all of us. Like, she was just a magnificent human being, and the loss is great, too great. Like I said, this is not meant to be a masterpiece or anything like that. Just something where I can talk to you, and at the moment I'm actually just talking to myself, so I don't even know if anyone's going to be watching this. But that's okay. I'm learning to let go, live in the moment, do what I feel driven to do, because that's all we can do. You know, it's and another thing about grief is how you can feel really happy with the memories and think about all the funny things they used to go through and laugh about it and joke about it. And I have very strong belief that that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to remember them like that, not dwell in that grief. and what that means at this time of year. And what that means for all of us. So if there's someone around you who's just recently lost someone and it's their first holiday season without them, be gentle, let them cry, let them laugh, just ask them what they need, if they need anything, or just be with them. I think just being with them is enough, And if there's a child around you who's grieving, you can ask them to draw their feelings. Or another really good thing I like to do is get them to get out that frustration, because there's a cycle to grieving. Grieving is not something that's oh, you're sad and let's move on. There's a cycle. You go through denial, you go through anger, you go through bargaining. Bargaining's a big one, if only. Confusion is another big one. And then there is acceptance. But even though there's acceptance, the cycle can start again. It's like a never-ending cycle of grief. Something can spark a memory or trigger the grief. So if you or someone you know is going through that, please reach out to someone in your community. There are so many awesome organisations, and as you're probably aware from my socials, I am offering a portion of my sales to Feel the Magic Foundation, which is an awesome organisation who assist children in their grieving process, and there will be more information about that soon when I have it. So I don't know, this is a very messy tree, but maybe we can look at being as abstract. I love the softness of watercolour. Another thing that was really hard after my parents passed was hearing their voice on video. As hard as it was so nice to have it there. It was like they never left. So my advice, take as much video as you can. And I'm not one to be in front of the camera. But now I'm thinking, you know what, at the end of the day, That's what I look like. I don't think many people like the way they look. Jeez, that's crooked. And that's okay. Because I'm normally quite happy. Well, I am a happy person. Doesn't mean that you can't grieve if you're happy. It's important to remember too. And I do that for my kids, you know, because life does go on. It doesn't stop for anybody. Okay, so I think that's about it. Like I said, just a really rough sketch with watercolour, some paint, a liner and a paint pen. But I love these paint pens. That kind of depicts how I'm feeling around the holidays, or how I feel around the holidays, but this is not an all the time thing. So it comes and goes, like I said, in waves. It can hit me when I least expect it. It can, and then I'll have times of elation, and I can talk about them with absolute joy and love in my heart. So even though grief is something that doesn't ever go away, it is something that you can manage with people around you, talking to the right people, getting really good coping strategies, really healthy strategies, and openly talking about it. You know, it's really important to talk about how you're feeling. And to anyone who's grieving, know that you're not alone. So reach out, get the support you need. Like I said, there's many organisations out there, and I'm sure that if you reach out to the right people, you'll find what you need. So that's it for today. Like I said, not a masterpiece. Don't love the face, don't love the hand. If I had more time, I would have fixed that up, but this is just me playing around. That's going to go in my sketchbook. No big deal. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took something from this video. Have a beautiful holiday season, and I'll see you in the next video.